If your TikTok goes viral about a product that you're thinking about building, yeah, you probably should build it. You're probably onto something. If you can't get a video to go viral talking about your product, maybe it doesn't need to exist. The social media algorithms are literally one of the best ways and indication that you're building something valuable. I've solved one of your problems with this video. Can I do it again with this product?
Hey everyone, my name is Jay. Welcome to another episode of the AI Founders Podcast. I am your host. I'm also the CEO of a company called Casper Studios, which helps enterprises and founders to be able to build AI products. I had the pleasure today to interview the CEO of Cassidy. His name is Justin Fineberg. Cassidy is a workflow automation platform for generative AI applications. Justin is super down-to-earth, very ambitious founder, and it was really fun to be able to talk about a gamut of different topics, talk specifically about his transition from a creator of content, predominantly on TikTok and Instagram, to how that actually helped him build Cassidy. We talked about what he's learning about how enterprises are adopting AI in the workforce today. We even started to talk about pieces around how to maintain your mental health as a founder. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Justin, how are you?
Jay, the man, what's up?
I was wondering what a good place to start with the podcast would be, and I thought the story of how we met would be funny. I'll start it, and then I'd love to hear it from your side as well. While my TikTok addiction was increasing pretty rapidly earlier this year, I was following one of the top creators in the AI space named Justin. One of the pieces of content I felt so compelled to say, wow, he's talking about exactly what I am talking about as well. I should just hit him up on LinkedIn. I then go to your profile on LinkedIn, start to DM you, and I realized you've been connected and we've already chatted before, like a few years prior. And it was while I was still on LinkedIn, and you were like, hey man, like graduating college, like looking for opportunities. I was like, yo, Justin, what's up, man?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a cool experience for me, because it's like you never know who you're going to be connecting with over the course of your career. But yeah, like what was your side of that story on that one? And I'm glad you didn't end up getting a job at LinkedIn and ended up focusing on entrepreneurship.
It was back in college, or it was a couple of years ago, a long time ago now, but I'd seen your blog too. I don't know, I stumbled on your profile on LinkedIn. I was like, all right, this guy's working on a cool role at LinkedIn. He's got this like blog that he's keeping up. I was like, he's talking about mindfulness and how to think about life and tech. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I like this guy. I think I got to connect with him and let's see the similarities. I want to see how he thinks about life. I think I hit you up asking for life advice. I was like, I think I read one of your blogs that you probably wrote it 6 years ago. And I was like, that resonated with me. And then there was just a random hit up that you're like, hey, I like your TikTok. I was like, great. We like each other's content.
I love it. And you've inspired me to get into video content. So I don't know if this podcast would have been happening unless I started watching your content. So I love this circle of tech and how it all comes back around.
For sure. Your face is all over LinkedIn now.
I know. My girlfriend gives me some slack about it. So do my friends.
Part of it.
I feel like that's when you're onto something valuable, is when your group chats are just making fun of you all the time.
You got to embrace the cringe. That's what I always say. Embrace the cringe of it all.
How did you embrace the cringe, speaking of, when starting to create content? I think your story is pretty fascinating, because from the outside in, and even hearing your story a little bit more, it sounded like it was starting creating content, and then because of that, having certain insights that, hey, I can maybe even build a product in a company, and what has turned into a business, and the very successful one today. Yeah. And so what was the initial kind of impetus to create content? And is that even where your story starts? Or do you think that it starts before then as well in some place?
That's where the story starts for most people's mind, but it's actually, there's a lot before that too. But it's actually, before that, I've always been building startups and building products and trying to make content. And I was always just online doing things, and a lot of failures and a lot of things that didn't work out, or just ideas. And that's where I spent most of my everything, probably since high school, was doing that. And so for years amounted to really nothing. And then we started building a product that was called Rec Lists, and not many people know about it, but it was an AI aggregated newsletter that basically aggregated, what some of the smartest people in the world were reading. It would scrape their Twitter profiles, all these things. It would consolidate it into a newsletter. We were using GPT-3 for some of the summarization, a lot of features throughout the product. And I knew I needed to grow this thing. We already had 10,000 users of Rec Lists. It was very niche. It was this consumer where you could subscribe to thought leaders. And I was like, we need to grow this. And so I started just making content about what we were building. And it's funny, content took off much more than the actual newsletter, than the product that we were building. So it was like a product with a newsletter, it was a combination. And I just leaned into that. I was like leaning into the content. I was like, all right, great. This is what people want. They actually don't give a shit about the product that we're building. They like me talking about AI. They like me talking about what the product is, how we're thinking about, where are the opportunities in this space. And then ChatGPT came out, and that blew that out of the water, where I was already building in this space, thinking about how to use this technology. And that was the start where I had built the audience for a separate product, but then I leaned into the audience heavily. And then it was very clear after months of just making content and sharing what we were learning that, we just started getting all this inbound from companies. Hey, we want to build out these automations, and we have these ideas. And I was getting hired for consulting, and we're like, they don't need consulting. They need a product. They need this. Here's what's really missing in the market. And then that was where Cassidy was born. So that's the story. It's just, it was never as black and white of like, I'm going to build the audience to launch Cassidy. It was like, started a product, built an audience, kind of started another product, kept growing the audience. And it's going hand in hand with the two. Yeah.
It's a good lesson of the audience should be built around yourself in some way versus maybe only a product or a company, because that audience will likely stay with you regardless of what you're going to be doing next. Was that kind of what you also took away from that time period, where maybe, I guess, like they were right, you were creating content about AI, and so they transitioned with you in that space, but what are you learning about people's trust in you as an individual, and then how that then relates to other business success in the future?
Yeah, I think from a business perspective of like, how do you, should I build an audience? Should I do it? Cassidy, everything is connected. It's one thing happened to the next that led to this. It's Cassidy theoretically is 20 years old. It started with like the first product that I ever built, and that leading to me going, oh, wait, I'm going to make a piece of content about that. And then that led to, wait a second, I think this product is what needs to be there. And it really feels like a continuum of just like one event after the next that led to finally like what Cassidy is and things like that. And the continuum is not over. It's not, it's not done yet. But the learning there is that people are always like, I'm waiting for the perfect idea, or like, I don't really need to build the audience right now because I don't have the product yet. And I think it's just like, you start doing stuff because you'll realize that one thing leads to the next. And like, we built the audience for this original product. And then, it was like, I never saw myself as a content creator. And I think that like, the content that I make is just kind of me talking, right? So, and that's been super exciting, and it's fun making it now. And I never realized that. I saw myself as a product manager. I saw myself as a product builder, and now I've stumbled into like, I'm a content creator, and that's fine. I love it. And I think it actually builds a level of trust that it's like, I wasn't in it to grow this following and hack the system and all this stuff. It was like, no, it just happened. And I just focused on, this is what people want. I'm going to keep leaning into that. So that's how I think about all that.
Do you recommend founders start building an audience right off the bat, or do you think that there's a lot of different flavors to this? I was speaking with my partner earlier today about the next set of roles that don't exist today that may exist in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't know what it's called, but almost like this creator operator person. That person knows how to run a company or be an executive at a company, and they know how to be able to build content and build trust with their audience. It's almost like that might be its own role in the future. I don't know what it's called. How do you think about like when you're guiding your friends that are starting companies and they're like, oh my God, you've been crushing it with content. Do you recommend that they start that right away, or do you like end up recommending maybe don't do that, focus on this first? What's your guidance to them?
My North Star is just value. It's just like, how do I add value? So if you're an engineer and you're like, you know what, I can't elaborate or articulate my thoughts for shit, I don't think I could do a good job making content, but this is the way I would provide value, is just focus all my attention on just like writing great code and building this particular product. Yeah, sure, you got to figure out marketing. Don't get me wrong. There's other avenues, but I think it's like, how do you truly put your best foot forward and add value to the world? And I think that's a journey. And I think a lot of founders do the way that you, and so I think that it's like, how do you add value to the world? One means to that is like building an audience. As we're like talking about, I don't love the idea of like you build an audience to extract value from, I don't see it like that. It's like, I'm not like trying to shill. It's like Cassidy was very natural. Hey, this is a problem that a lot of people are having within this community, this audience that has already existed that I'm excited about. I want to have a good relationship with. Great, let's build this. Let's solve their problem. And I think when you lead with that, where it's like less of like, how do I extract That's why I think that's why I think the content has done well. That's why I think I've done well on social, is because I haven't never thought of it like I'm here to extract. It's no, I actually just really like this. I like the conversation. I like putting out content. I like the engagement in the community that we're building, and that people's eyes light up that we built this product that solves their problem. And that's what excites me. And I think if you have that mentality, it's how you actually grow that audience. So that's how I
Totally.
think about it. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Focusing on the attention versus the output usually helps.
Yeah. What about
Focus on
you? How are you thinking about it?
it goes to that framework of intention and output.
Yeah.
I had an era in my life where I was really into like Buddhist meditation and would go to.
That's when I found you.
For the content was being created. So I'm glad that and I a lot of the different learnings from that phase, and that phase was just defined as like me like going to different meditation retreats, like in SF over the weekend. A couple of them had like really cool monks that would come in from literally Tibet and teach us things. And it was awesome. And it was almost like going to group therapy, but with a monk, and with grown up with the Dalai Lama. And I was like, this is crazy. And I came to that one of the weekends with a problem, and I was talking about my problem, and I was really focused on that problem. And the big insight I walked away that he helped me with was like, just focus on the intention versus the output that you want. And an example of this for people that are in companies is, I really want to get a promotion. You're like, cool, I really want to get a pay bump. I want that title. I want this thing. And so you just really focus on that. But then your behaviors end up diminishing the ability for you to get there, because they're maybe too short-sighted, or they're extracting value too much, or they're coming across as just not supportive to other people. So the focus on the output ends up actually decreasing the probability of them getting that output usually. Yeah. And so instead, it's like, ask what were the inputs that help you get to that output for people that are actually doing a good job. And then you realize it's usually just you're connecting with people, you're providing value, you're helping in some way. And so with content creation, with building a company, with building friendships, building relationships, is just kind of really one of my operating systems is just put out good stuff into the world. And it paradoxically increases the ability for you to get whatever broad output. People will look at you being successful, Justin. They're like, he's built a large following, he's growing a successful business, and people will say, oh, he's really focused on the output. Where my perception of how you become successful is that you just really focus on the input, and it's just it's happening around you because you're so focused on that. Is that accurate?
That's where the fruitful things come, right? I think about even with your blogs on mindfulness is, what value were you trying to? You weren't trying to extract any value, but I came in the door, and that's where like the magic of this content and stuff comes. Is it's not asking, it's just like giving. And then when you give, it's this serendipitous world opens up like we had. Because I think I just stumbled on your blog on mindfulness.
What was one of those moments when the world opened up to you? Do you remember it? When you were like, whoa, like this has created this opportunity for me. I was not even expecting it. Do you remember what that experience was for you?
There's a lot. I think it's like when you're creating content, you're just reaching the masses at scale. And especially when it's valuable content, I think like my DMs, like the people I've had the opportunity to talk to, the people who've reached out, who are incredible singer-songwriters who you're like look up to, and they're like, hey, I love your AI content. And you're like, holy shit, what, you follow me?
What's the story there?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if I even want to say. It literally happened today. It happened today. So that's why I'm like, stop in mind.
We can edit it out if later you feel like you feel uncomfortable about it. But that sounds like a fun story.
I'll say it after. After the recording. I'll explain.
Sounds good. So people start to reach out to you that you respect, literally singer-songwriters, like entrepreneurs, like
people who respect, because there's not that many people who, one, put content out, and two, actually try to put valuable content out there, who they stand behind. They're not focused on the extraction. They're focused on like giving and value add. But if you could do that, you really do that consistently for a long time. Because I think I was doing that. I think I was doing that for the past 10 years. But it takes time for things to hit, things to click. It's like when I read your blog, 6 years ago, and it was like I had a blog of my own. I had 30 subscribers, but I was still like trying to produce content and talk about what interested me at the time. So it takes a long time for things to hit.
Yeah. And each of these experiences are just building blocks. You pick up a little bit of experiences here, pick up a little bit of experiences here. They don't really seem like they will connect in the future, but they are connecting. You haven't yet gone to the future, done that big initiative or project, and realized that they were connecting in the past.
Exactly.
So walk me through the early days of Cassidy. So all these founders and executives are DMing you saying, okay, I need help with some AI consulting. You recognize that actually this could be a product. Like, walk me through like the specifics of that. Do you have a team? Was it the same team that you're working with before that was like ready to go from a product engineering perspective to get after it? Like, how do you understand like what the first bit?
I got very lucky with my co-founder, who we've been best friends. We were roommates in college. We've worked together. We absolutely are the most powerful team in terms of like, he is the absolute best engineer I've ever known. Shout out to Ian on this. But I got very lucky that like I had a partner through this. And so the breakdown of that's the people listening, the Apple thumbs up and fireworks just showed up on the screen. Those things are annoying. So I got very lucky with my co-founder. And so when I was growing, the audience was growing. We were always looking for what are the things we could build. At the end of the day, I didn't see myself as a content creator. Like I was making content because that's what was like I was being pulled in that direction at the time, but I knew that we wanted to build a product, and building the content just presented an opportunity where we could easily find problems that existed and then solve those problems by building it. And so, it was very clear as all of these sort of requests and interests of like from companies coming in, wanting to build these automations and these experiences. And it was just clear that we were it was just as ChatGPT had come out, there was this new interest, there was this new market demand. And we're like, hey, he was actually working at Bubble, which is the no code tool there. And so we just liked the idea of what Bubble had built for web applications. And we're like, let's think about how can we build that for AI automations? What does that no code platform look like? So we both had quit his job, and then we set out to start this company. It was growing the audience, going back to that, or building content. It's like, it's a way to do user interviews at scale is one way I think about it, right? You don't have to sit down and talk to one person. You could make a TikTok video selling your product before it's built. And if that thing goes viral, great. Then yeah, don't sleep that next weekend, start building it, but you validated that this is actually something that needs to exist. The social media algorithms are literally one of the best ways and indication that you're building something valuable. If your TikTok goes viral about a product that you're thinking about building, yeah, you probably should build it. You're probably onto something. If you can't get a video to go viral talking about your product, maybe it doesn't need to exist. There's your clip.
There's your TikTok for later. So if you're a founder and you wanted to build a product, I think listeners will be like, but dude, you already have a large audience. Obviously, if you go do that, it'll make sense. But I guess the insight for you is still, we help founders be able to build MVPs. But what I'm hearing is that maybe actually the first version of that is the first MVP is putting something down in a document, putting a couple ideas down, maybe like walking through some sort of structure of like how you can explain it and get excited about it and share it. And then just sit down for 3 weeks and every day just this pump like one of the different TikToks or Instagrams,
Yeah.
and then just see what sticks over the course of a month, and then just double down on the ones that have the most engagement. In theory, that sounds good, but I wonder if there'll be like interesting, weird false positives because of that too.
Listen, the one thing is that there's a few examples of this. I saw a guy earlier this year who was like making a TikTok every day until Alex Earl joined him as his co-founder to build some like fashion app. Forgot what it was exactly, but he went crazy viral. And I think he's building the application. I think he's got lots of users because it worked. I think this is the new positioning in marketing. It's like you're going, you have a big following. I don't have a following. How am I going to go viral on what if I have a good idea? It's yeah, you have to sell your product. And that the way you sell your product today is by tapping into, this is what the market wants. We have short attention spans, short form contents where people's attentions are. If you can't package your product and sell it in a way that works on short form video, you're going to have a problem no matter what. And I'm speaking from a place of, we are not building a consumer application. I am building an enterprise SaaS platform. We have sold to Fortune 500 companies at this point, right? So I still believe short form is the medium for selling whatever you're building. And for us, it's enterprise software. Before people go, hey, this only works for consumer. It doesn't. It works for...
It's a good piece of advice. If you can package something up nicely in a short form video, then how can you pitch to a customer? What is like that skill set is very similar. You need to be able to hit your point really quickly. Here's the 3 bullets. Here's like why this is interesting. You could really just be able to copy paste what's working there. And if it's not working, that means your broader pitch to the market isn't working either.
Exactly.
It's even with this podcast, it's fun because it just feels like another conversation with a buddy and a friend. It's just a part of the habit and a part of the routine. And so if a founder is out there trying to get investor dollars and making all these pitches every single day, why aren't they also then spending the time just like flipping on a camera and then just doing the same thing for their audience and hope that something would also come inbound because of that? So walk me through the first like kind of customer stories of Cassidy. Like Who ended up buying it? What was that like story? What was happening in the early days? What was the first revenue that came in?
Yeah, first couple customers we got, it was all random. It was random industries. It was random, but we were like totally in. We had started building the versions of Cassidy, like first versions, and we were just trying to onboard people. And then we really oriented ourselves around give us your credit card. We want the validation that you'd pay for this. It's the first time we got someone to pay, I think it was 150 a month. And it was like, all right, great. And the next time we just tried to see what can we charge? We onboard another customer. Hey, can we $350 a month? And then it just kept moving up. And we're like, all right, this is where the enterprise. One of our first larger customers is called RVZ, which is like Airbnb for RVs. They were one of our early customers. They really took a bet on us, and we rolled out Cassidy throughout the organization. They're still a customer today. They have the whole team on it. We have a whole case study on how it's sped up, and they're saving hundreds of hours a year from Cassidy across lots of different use cases. But early days, it's as you're building a product, it's very much like consulting. You're very hands-on, even for those like lowest paying customers, building the product oriented around what are the problems that they have, and you go deeper into those problems. But it was really helpful that also these people had trusted me. Every single one of our early customers was following me on social media. They filled out a Google form that I put in my TikTok bio saying, hey, if you're interested in this product I just told you about, sign up for this Google form. Hit up, got hundreds of people to sign up, worked through the list, emailing people, got on calls, onboarded them. It was like, that was the way we got started. We just really focused on how we make those customers happy. And then we also said no to a lot of people too. We had a vague pitch. We had an open-ended thing. There were people who came in who we were like, you know what? It's hard to say no to this, but I actually think this would move us in the wrong direction. And you start to get that clarity. Who are the people? Who is the ICP? But it helps that you have this social following to constantly have more people to talk to, more user interviews, more people to onboard, more people to test on. You never have a lack of like people you can talk to. And then once again, it's not extracting. It's, hey, can I talk to you to solve your problem? Get on a call with me 30 minutes. Like I made all those videos about ChatGPT prompts. You love it. Great. Let's have a conversation. They're excited to talk. I'm excited to talk. And it's just so mutual. It's great. I solved one of your problems with this video. Can I do it again with this product? And that was that mentality early on that really allowed us to grow fast.
There's so much trust built in there. That's a really good insight that if you're looking at like a conversion rate of being able to talk to a potential customer and then be able to start working with them, I'm sure that creator-led founders, whatever you call it, however you identify yourself, like it ends up like increasing the sales process or decreasing the time it takes to be able to close a deal. All those like traditional SaaS metrics, just by them knowing you and hearing you, like the trust is there. You still have to build it as a business person. You still have to build it when you're talking through legal contracts and pricing and everything for sure. But there's already some built-in foundation there that like they already get a vibe of who you are.
Yeah, you fucking know me. Like, you've been staring at my face for years
What's
now.
Up?
And it's, I know, I've seen your Instagram story. I know you were at the Yankee game last week.
Yeah.
I know who you are.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. That's awesome. When it sets this level of like, someone comes on the call and I've never met them, but they feel like they know me. And that's a really cool relationship to have especially when your goal is great. I'm glad all my content helped you. I really want to take it a step further. I want to help even more. I want to try to build this product that solves even more of your problems. It's just it's a cool value add, community centric mindset that I think has put us down a really good path.
I want to go into the product a little bit more now too. I love that your co-founder is former Bubble. I've helped advise a couple of no-code platforms before too. Sweet. And I think that experience coming from Bubble into Cassidy was a really big one because I'm sure that he understood what are the pain points in terms of like a no-code platform. Can you tell us a little more about Cassidy? And then I want to go into deeper kind of insights that you're learning about what it's been like building out an AI product these days.
Yeah. The product has evolved a lot, but I think we've really moved in a direction where we started to think about what Cassidy is it's like how everybody's talking about AI agents, right? Everybody is like, the AI agents are coming. I literally saw a LinkedIn video before this. It was like, AI agents are coming and everybody's talking about AI agents. And me, I realized the AI agents are here. What they are well-defined AI workflows. And that's what Cassidy is if you go to our product, there is no feature called agents. We have assistants. And what those are, it's basically workflows allow you to structure the exact tasks that you want an AI assistant to go through. And basically what that allows for is to automate processes where, hey, I have this essentially AI agent hooked into my Zendesk. Every ticket that comes in, it's looking at the ticket with the context of our company, deciding, is this priority? I know your business, so I know when things are priority. All right, if it is, I'm going to respond to it. I know as an agent how you respond to inquiries like this. I know the answer to that question. I'm going to draft that up. And then I'm going to message Matt on the engineering team because I think there's also a bug in this ticket. And I think that the reason we don't call it an agent is like this thing has been set up in a way where it's very structured. We defined every step of the process that would go through. We created the block that's going to do the sentiment analysis. We created the action block where it's going to write the response. And we give it those guardrails and those instructions at every step that now when you have the culmination of all these LLM blocks together, that's what makes up an agent. And so we're just saying, hey, you know what? I think there's a lot of hype around this idea where the agent is fully deciding what the tasks need to take and do it for you. When you hire a new employee, you tell them, you give them your SOP, you give them your training manual. This is how you do it. And I think AI agents you're going to want it the same, which is you're going to want to set up the guardrails. No, this is how you do it at our company. And that's basically what we built with Cassidy. I jumped into the very abstract version of what we're building, but I think it's the more interesting one. And if you want to get into how this actually works, sign up on Cassidy. It's free to try it out. But that's the way that we're thinking about what we're building.
I was going to share a screen and just show. It's going to go on YouTube as well. Just show people what I'm looking at here. Here's the website. I've used Cassidy myself just to ground us in a specific use case to be able to pull competitive news and insights about my peers or competitors and be able to just send an email pretty quickly, which by the way was my job for the most part at LinkedIn on the VD team.
Exactly.
And so what are you learning about the main the top 3 use cases, or not use cases, maybe top 3? We can start first with the top 3 role types. Is it mostly customer service? Is it mostly like procurement? What are you learning from that angle?
Yeah, we're really excited about sales and support is one area where we think there's a lot of just internal tedious workflows that just can definitely be automated with Cassidy and has the largest benefit to the business in those areas. It's also where I think the models are particularly good right now. There's certain use cases that I look at that I know, all right, the models that we have today are good enough that they can actually do these things. There's certain areas around data analysis, which I'm less excited about right now because I don't think we have a killer text to SQL model. I don't think we have a killer experience. There's still so much that needs to be built in that space where I'm like, hey, you know what? Doing large scale financial data analysis, it's LLM, I'm not as there yet. And so sales and support are those use cases and areas of the company where I think there's the most low-hanging fruit. So that's where we focus a lot of the automations that we build right now. It's where our users and our customers just find the most cost savings. But yeah, that's what we're leaning into.
And so when you say you're building the automations, so how are you understanding what to build? So you have customers now, you have folks that are using it from the sales team, and you'll reach out to them and say, hey, how do you want us to use this? And then your team will be able to build out the workflow. So then you can give it to them, and then ideally other customers like them.
So they build out all their workflows.
They're building it out.
We're just there we're entirely focused on the primitives of the experience. What are the things that we're building are oriented around workflows that have to do with sales and support teams and the integrations with that. But I think the truth is when you look at how companies work and how the internal processes of a sales team or something, how they do RFP, it's all very unique to the company. They're always slightly different. And so that's why I'm very excited about the idea of building a platform where we build the primitives. We give the user the ability to build out these workflows that are totally custom to what they do. And now this is what ties into that no-code platform component is we don't want this to be limited to the IT teams to build these out for everybody. We want the sales development representatives themselves to be able to build out workflows that are automating the things that they individually do and handle. And so that's what I mean with kind of automations is it's still a platform to build these. We just want to make it really easy to build them, but we think it's important that the company has the full discretion to build exactly what they need.
One thing I've been meditating on recently, not literally meditating on, but just thinking about in the morning, I'm thinking about integration of AI. Yeah. And I had our friend Matt on the podcast. He's in BD at Writer. So you guys should connect. And so he was talking a lot about how now that they've had like that initial success in terms of getting into the enterprise, how do you actually make the enterprise successful with the platforms that you're building for them? And so what are you learning in terms of, okay, cool, like now you have this in the sales team. How do you actually get that sales development rep to start using this platform? Is it the same tactics and principles that you would learn, you would need to apply from any like enterprise SaaS tool, or are there nuances that you're seeing with regard to integrating AI into the workforce?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like we're trying to be because we're focused on the enterprise, at the same time, we're trying to be PLG, so product-led growth inside enterprises. So like how can we sell top down into a company to then expand product-led? And so like you look at companies like Notion, or these companies have done really good job at being product-led first. Most of the time it's like an end user, hey, I've used Notion, I found Notion, and their whole growth has been product-led. For us, we think there's a lot of opportunity where companies right now are wanting and know there's productivity gains to be had. And so they're buying platforms like Writer, or they're buying platforms like Cassidy. And then we want to set up the product in a way where it's organically expanding within the company, that people are finding this actually just makes my life easier. Like I just like this better. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this natural growth and expansion within enterprises that we sell top down. And I think it comes down to just the same principles of building a good product-led company. You need to make the time to value fast, that you need to get users the aha moment quickly. You have to have the brand and the education and the community so that people are talking about it, both internally at the company, but just in general in the world. Those are the same principles that we're applying to an enterprise-led go-to-market motion. And it's been working pretty well so far.
So the product-led growth within the enterprise is interesting. So is there some sort of shareable functionality that it helps, like you're thinking about how you can then take it from one like department to the other, and you're like almost like demonstrating something to them. You're like, hey, take a look, sales team to the product team.
Yeah, exactly. What we're finding is that an individual who's excited about this will, everybody will start to know and hear about Cassidy. We have individuals who are early adopters. They're excited about AI. Right? Because people are excited about AI, this technology. It's very different than any other technology that's ever existed, right? Like people weren't like, yes, we got a CRM. Fuck yes. It's like people are
HR systems.
Yeah. Oh, yes. This is new. People are like, holy shit, I love AI. It's like the people are, and these are not people they don't even know what an API is. They're not technical. So what we found is that people within these organizations are building workflows within Cassidy, sharing it with team members, being like, hey, I know that you send out these meetings after calls, you send out these notes after calls, and you transcribe it into a what we heard section for the deck. I built this workflow that does it for you. You should check it out. And they also have a seat on the Cassidy, and now they're using it. They're going, I also do what we heard, but I'd like a summary of everybody I'm talking to for that day before I jump into my, all my sales meetings. Okay, great. So now this other person has built this workflow. He says, hey, I built this workflow that can do this here. It's on our Cassidy instance. And so we're finding this almost organic building and sharing between team members that is driving the growth within companies. And that's what we've been like leaning into more. And it just feels new. It feels like that's not something that's traditional in enterprise SaaS. Like I said, I don't think people would traditionally get excited about enterprise SaaS. But if it's literal magic, which this is what we're dealing with here, you can tap into PLG in the enterprise.
I like that. We should coin that here. Or maybe you've already coined it. It's when people in the more traditional enterprise, there's a very personal reason why an individual want to use a new software or be able to buy like software, because they think that it'll help their teams, and then they think that it'll help them get promoted at some point and be seen as like the person that's really brought in this new technology. Now with AI, because it just runs the gamut, there's people in every part of the organization that is just like the new tech nerd and just really wants to lean in and really wants to help because they know that it'll help their jobs personally, because it'll save all this time, but it'll also make them seem like people can come to you for all of the new technology, and that'll help you build your brand internally to be promoted and do all these things. I say that because I was trying to be that person myself at LinkedIn, whether it was like leaning into AI, leaning into Web3. It was always just, I wanted to be the new tech person, and it just compounded because people would always come to you, ask questions. You wouldn't really know what's going on. You'd go learn it, come back, share it, just keep compounding from there. Are you starting to formalize that person internally at a company, like the AI champion or something? That's just
there's people who are excited about being the AI champion. I think it's like excited, like it's just pretty natural that like everybody wants. There's a subset of people who love ChatGPT, are excited for the next AI tool, and I think it's a much larger group than what you might traditionally see with champions of the new HR management tool.
Again, as we like wrap up here, Justin, this all sounds like a beautiful story, and it is a beautiful story, but what's been challenging over the past little bit? This is the first, I think it's like the second time running a company, or like at least first time at the scale. Like what does a psychology feel like? What does the mental health feel like? Like how are you thinking through these really important aspects?
Yeah, it's helpful to like really love what you're doing. To like it's because this has been a journey for, like I said, 10 years of trying to build things. And so there's literally a clip from Sam Altman, which is like, how do you avoid burnout? It's things go well. And I think we're in one of those situations where things are going well. There's always challenges. Every day there's a new another email that comes in that's shit, here we go, we got to deal with this. What's this? How are we going to deal with this one? And you just have to remember, I think, when you're a founder and you start to realize this at the time, and I was even knew this years ago as we started to have the ups and downs, but we didn't have any successes. Like whenever you feel really good, just know in a week or two, in a month, something really bad's going to happen. But then when something really bad happens, just remember in a week or two, in a month, maybe 2 months, you're going to be back. Holy shit, this is amazing. We're crushing it. And that's just constantly the journey, is like these ups and downs as you're just slowly going up and to the right. Every day there's a million challenges. And I think mentally you have to just you have to be a leaf on the river, as they would say in a J mindfulness blog. I don't know. Maybe I don't think that was from your blog, but
that'll be the title of this episode. Be a leaf in the river. It feels to really like psychologically and mentally feel like you can be up for this challenge over the long term is the response rate needs to become faster over time, from the highs coming back to normalcy and then the lows coming back to normalcy. It's like it feels like the skill to develop as a CEO, as a founder, is like, how can you just return back to normal faster? And then just because you're going to be doing it every day. Because if 2 days or 4 days or 5 days that you're just like on your own shit and you don't prospect and you're like think you're hot stuff, then you're fucked in the next like weeks. And then 5 days of being like really like in just being like feel like crap, but then that's obvious that you're not making progress. It's funny that the positive to normal actually is not spoken about that much, but I think it should be. But yeah, is that how you perceive it too? The response rate speed needs to become better.
Totally. To go down I think our common interest of this Buddhist mindfulness thing, it's can't be grasping at like when it's really good, and you can't be avoiding the really bad. It's like the core tenets of Buddhism and mindfulness is being hyper aware of how you're feeling and the awareness. And so like when you're feeling really good, not indulging in that, like being like, oh my God, we're crushing it. But you're like, whoa, I'm feeling really good. It feels good right now. But you have this awareness that, wait a second, it's going to come and equal out. We're going to be back at that normal. Or when it's really bad, being able to immediately know, hey, that anxiety in my body that we're fucked is actually not real. It's a sensation in the body. Let's come back to the awareness. And then that allows you to be absolutely dialed in and focused at all times. You're not like at the mercy of the emotions and the wave of the ups and downs of building a company. You can always just know something's really good, something's really bad. You can still just stay focused.
Last thing I'll say on this point, I'll let you go. It feels it's the first time I'm building a company. Like when people ask me how it's going, it feels the response I share back is that it feels like I'm becoming the best version of myself.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm happy. That doesn't mean I'm sad, or that doesn't mean I'm not stressed, but it feels like I'm becoming a better version of myself. And I think the lessons that you're sharing it just puts all of these different mindfulness practices right at the fucking forefront for you to figure out and actually apply immediately. Is that how you felt about it as well?
I feel the same way. It's a journey, but the journey of man. I definitely agree. There's a lot of obstacles, but it's about how you overcome them and you become stronger. But yeah.
Justin, thanks for coming on, man, on this Friday afternoon.
Thanks, Jay.